Hi, I thought I would talk about transitioning from teaching ESL as a 27-year-old to studying a Masters in Social Work. Around this time last year, after being impacted by COVID-19, I decided that the conditions were right for studying as a mature age student. I knew that I didn't want to work as an ESL teacher for my whole life, and that I was interested in social work and similar fields, and I'd known this for about a year at that point. The extra time that I had in the day due to reduced work hours caused by COVID-19 was wasted playing video games. So I thought, why not use this time to study? Fast forward a year and I've just finished the first year of the 2-year Masters course, and I'm currently in lockdown in Sydney. So I wanted to share my journey for others who might be feeling the same way I did back then about leaving a job and studying social work. I wanted to explain what my experience has been like and the things that I've learned along the way. Starting again can be a daunting prospect, but a necessary one. As Naval Ravikant points out, nobody wants to start over. It can be painful to look for a new path, but sometimes it's the best thing to do. But within starting new, there is definitely a sense of curiosity and interest. Opening new doors to me has been a great experience. But that being said, I was fortunate enough to be in a privileged position of having casual work on the side while studying, and also having a supportive partner who encouraged me to go for it. I kept up teaching about 20 hours a week while I was studying about 20 to 30 hours a week. The balance of the two really depends on how self-directed you are. Making small changes to habits such as starting to meal prep, food for the rest of the week, planning my timetable around assignments, these made the process a lot easier. So I'm studying online, so it's up to me to keep on top of the workload. The increase in flexibility around when you actually study and work in the online space, to me, has been of tremendous benefit to myself. Not wasting time in transit to university and being able to watch lectures and read textbooks when it's best for you is a massive plus. Obviously, this comes with a downside of not being able to participate and ask questions in class, but it can kind of partially be helped by contributing in the discussion boards on the courses where students and academic staff can answer and ask questions about the material, which is often underused, this feature. In terms of the material in the course so far, it's neither been too difficult nor too easy. Being able to be critical of information and reflective and analytical about the content is probably the most important thing. You definitely want to have good reading and writing skills, as well as being able to articulate where you're getting your information and how it relates to the issues at hand. As most of the assessments are essays, you want to make sure your research and referencing is strong and that you can clearly convey your ideas in a logical way. There are plenty of resources to help you write better that I'd recommend exploring as well, and I'll post some of them below this video in the description. So I think it's important to note that this profession is based in social justice and advocating for the rights of oppressed people and marginalized populations. So if the terms social justice or feminism don't align with you, I think it could be difficult to engage meaningfully in the profession. That's not to say you can't kind of change your thoughts on these topics, but it may be more difficult to be self-critical about your beliefs and how they will impede your work potentially. I also want to be clear that although social work uses these terms and explores postmodernist ideas, it is a practical discipline that aims to help others foremost and uses these ideas to explore other ways of knowing with the aim of being able to help people in better ways. So I was fortunate in gaining entry to the Masters program at Flinders in South Australia with an unrelated undergraduate, which was music for me. So I joined the last cohort who would be accepted based on their GPA of their undergraduate, no matter the subject. So there were 2 bridging courses that I needed to do before entry. Because of this, but they were free, which was nice. One was human development and the other one was more sociology based. These courses gave me a good taste of what was to come in the course. So the first few topics I studied were as follows: social work theories, complexities in working with children and families, engaging in professional contexts, social work with diverse populations, my first placement, social work with groups and community, and social work research in practice settings. The structure recommended was 4 subjects in semester 1, then the placement and 2 subjects for semester 2. I found this balanced nicely. I'll give a rundown of each topic and talk about my experiences in the placement. So social work theories covered the theory behind different interventions and approaches when it comes to social work. This ranged from micro on a personal level to macro on a societal level. We learned the foundations of psychological approaches like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, attachment theory, through to critical theories like feminism, anti-oppressive practice, and other theories including things like problem-solving approaches, post-structuralism, narrative therapy, and systems theory. So learning this early in the degree has been useful because it gives you the basics of different approaches that you might consider to utilize in your social work practice as you develop. There are definitely approaches that you'll gravitate more towards, and there's not really a right or wrong approach to use. However, depending on the situation, some approaches may work better than others in different situations. So complexities in working with children and families, this subject drew heavily from attachment and developmental theories to analyse and approach this population group. Using case studies to explore how one could go about practicing social work in this space was an opportunity to explore what we'd learn and apply it. It also explored the good enough parenting and the relationship that children form and the role of social connection to children and families, whilst exploring complexity and how to approach ethical dilemmas in the space. Engaging in professional context was probably the most practical subject, where you learn about the legal and ethical nature of the work and develop your sense of professional identity and how it relates to your personal identity. Because your use of self in the work is really important, and you have to be very critical about how you're coming across to clients and making sure that you understand the impact that you have on the clients and that the impact they have on you, which is something they call transference or counter-transference. So we did role plays where we would act as clients for each other and practice communicative skills, including non-verbal communication. This was one aspect I found difficult online though, because it's obviously difficult to express body language and it can feel a bit artificial in this environment. Then we had social work with diverse populations, which sought to build knowledge around different populations, as the title says. So each week focused on a potential client group that we may interact with in the field, such as disability, refugees, the justice system, just to name a few. It was something that built empathy and understanding of the individuals that you would be working with, and informed some of the common difficulties these people have and how they've been represented in society, and the importance of undoing negative stereotypes and advocating for social justice of these people. Social work with groups and community looked at community development and running groups as a social worker. We worked in a group actually online to design either a community development project or a group proposal, and had to justify our group by using existing literature. This was the only group project I've done so far in the course. It was great to get to know each other and other students and share knowledge with each other. So the final topic apart from placement was social work research for practice settings, and this subject has definitely been the most kind of academic of the subjects. It's essentially a preparation for doing a PhD in social work or research, or it's a subject to prepare you for doing research in a professional role as well. We did things like exploring concepts like research approaches, types of data and data analysis, and conducted literature reviews, proposed research projects around an issue of our choice. So I really enjoyed the in-depth nature of the course and got a lot out of it actually. And this brings me to the placement and what I would say is the most important part of the course. As part of the requirements of the course to qualify students to join the AASW, which is the Australian Association of Social Workers, you must do 1,000 hours of placement, 500 in your first year and 500 in your second year. And I had the privilege of doing my first placement at the Wayside Chapel. I'd previously volunteered in roles with a similar population group and wanted to experience it in a more professional role. And the staff were very, very helpful, and it was a great experience to actually put the stuff I'd learned in the courses into practice. And about halfway through the placement, I was able to gain employment with Wayside Chapel, and I currently work there. This was a little tricky to manage with my placement at first, but fortunately having two locations helped me to physically separate the learning I was doing on placement with my paid role as a frontline community service worker. So I had to organise my own placement as I was studying interstate in Sydney, but I think this actually worked to my advantage a bit. Normally if you go to the university in the same state, they will actually organise the placement for you. It did take a while to find the placement, but I think in the end it was definitely worth it. So this brings me to the end of the video. If you have any questions about studying social work in Australia, please ask me in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them in a comment or maybe even in a video as well.